Hello, welcome. We are live on YouTube with another session of B+. So we're doing this every day, 8 to 9. B+ meaning be positive. Be positive is, being positive is the, being positive is the A plus way to be. B+ is the A plus way to be is the intention. So as part of this platform, what we're trying to do is create an atmosphere of positive energy so that we can take this across to our different parts of our life. It's a different kind of life that we are living nowadays in the current situation of the world. We are faced with uncertainties. We are faced with situations that we never thought we would ever see in our lives. Yet we are resolved to get through this. We are determined to get through this stronger than ever before. So that is what it takes. That is what it takes to face these kind of situations, to be determined within our minds, to be resolved in our intentions, and to actually do things that are very simple, very basic, very effective in the sense that are actually having impact all over the world. The things that we do at home would make a big difference across the world. And that's never been the case before, or maybe it was the case before, but never been this impactful as it is now. So what I'm going to open the session with a few remarks that that everybody must be doing perhaps during this time, which is really focusing inwards and trying to get a better sense of who we are. So trying to get a better sense of what actually ticks us, what actually motivates us, or what why we react to certain things in certain way. A deeper understanding of our own self is perhaps a great way to spend this time so that we have a better understanding of our own self. I'll give you an example. When I was a child in my high school days, and there was an incident that my school headmaster, principal, he actually told me there was we all assemble in the morning for a prayer. It's in the open field. We stand outside, and it was a rainy day, and there were puddles of water all across the field. And then when we stand for the prayer, we all walk through these puddles and go assemble for our daily prayers in the morning. And when that was happening, I was, being who I was at that point of my life, basically stomping my feet heavily on the puddles of water, splashing it all over the place and walking towards it. And it was perhaps splashing all over everybody as well. And then our principal, sir, he came to me and he said, dinosaurs are extinct because they didn't adapt to the environment. And that's all he told me. He didn't point to me. He didn't tell me anything other than the fact that I'm doing what I'm doing. He didn't admonish me for that. He just told me the fact that we need to adapt to the conditions that are presented to us in order to get through any situation. So survival of the fittest is perhaps the lesson there, or he was telling me that our behavior, our attitude towards situations should be adaptive to the conditions that are presented to us. I think that to me, as a child, that particular lesson stayed with me all through my life. And it in a way formed who I am as a person. And I'm pretty sure each and every one of us have stories like this. Each and every one of us have anecdotes or incidents that actually influenced who we are at this point of time. And perhaps it's time for us to find what those are. Maybe take a journey internally with ourselves and figure out what forms us. I call it self-concept. And what is our self-concept? What is the things that form us? What are the interactions that actually created an impression of the world for us? What actually carries us forward in the situations that are faced with us, in the situations of calamity? It could be situations of happiness, whatever the situation is. What is the thing that actually drives us? What is our self-concept that enables us to face the world the way we see it? So with that thought, that allows us to hopefully do that self journey to figure out the self concept. Let's begin today's session. So as part of this B+ sessions, last week on World Health Day, we had a panel of wonderful and eclectic group of doctors to talk about coronavirus and COVID-19 situation. So we brought in that panel, and they were offering some profound views on what is going on with the world, with the particular situation that we're all faced with. And they are the experts in various fields that are in the field of medicine, and they know what they're talking about. And we brought that panel together, and it went on for an hour and a half, and it was a very energetic, informative, and knowledge-driven discussion. And a lot of people liked it. And then we thought, and then there was a lot of feedback that we should do another one, maybe regular sessions like that. So I requested a couple of my friends, my brother, Dr. Raghu and Dr. Ismail Penukonda, to see if we can continue to have these sessions. And a lot of doctors from their network responded to be part of this. So with the introduction of what we have done in the past, it's been very effective. A lot of people chimed in with questions on YouTube, and then we were able to answer those questions, and we were able to, there were a lot of people that viewed it even after we were done with the program. So with that, I'm going to welcome the panel today. And just to alert my viewers that are watching this on live right now on YouTube, know that these doctors are very busy. Their time is very precious, and they have come, apart from doing what they do for us, they have set aside some time to come and talk to us today. And as I do with every session that is this B+ social media activity that we are doing every day, I request all the people that are present as part of the panel, as part of the Zoom meeting, to unmute their phones and actually salute and clap for all those people that are the true heroes on the ground. I know that those heroes are all here already. Some of them are representing that community, that large community of those heroes. We want to still take a moment, and on behalf of all of those heroes that are putting their lives in danger, that are serving in putting themselves at a big risk, putting their families at risk, going out there and then helping the humanity, helping the humankind to get through this situation, get through this crisis. All the doctors, the nurses, the healthcare workers, the people who are keeping our streets clean, the people that are supplying food for us, the people that are making sure there is water continuously for us, the people that are ensuring there is electricity in every home around the world. There are people that are ensuring there is internet connectivity so that we can do a lot of functions that we are so used to be doing using the internet. All those people that are doing the essential activities for humanity right now, let us make sure they all stay safe, strong, and healthy, and continue to do what they're doing. So let's take a moment and clap for them. I know you're all part of that community. Let's do it for them. And then we'll do the same thing at the end when we have the full panel. I know the doctors, they have busy schedules, so they promised me to join this. We have put together a very strong panel of doctors. So what I'm going to do is we have Dr. Ismail Penukonda, who is a family medicine doctor here in Fort Worth. He works at the Veterans Hospital for the government. And then I'm going to ask Dr. Ismail Garu to open the session with his remarks on where we are with the COVID situation and what he has seen since we met last time. I know you deal with this every day. So Dr. Ismail Garu, over to you first, sir.
Sure, Andy. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, Andarki Namaskaram. So I'm here with the great panel here. I want to just acknowledge all the people here. I think PV Anna is there.
Hi, Ismail.
I don't know who else. Hello.
Yeah.
Dr. Narwas is there. My colleague, Sri Lankan colleague, Dr. Narwas.
Hello, sir. Welcome.
Yeah.
And I see Dr. Raghu and who else on the panel? So today,
so far that's all.
I
think
they're
going to come. Yeah.
Okay. So right now, I'll start with one good news, which is at the JHU John Hopkins coronavirus website. So the 5-day average, actually the 5-day average trends how it looks. This is going down a little bit here, the outbreak. So what I'm seeing is right now about cases are like today reported were like 25,000 cases, which is flattening, a little bit of flattening the curve, if not. So 30 from 33,437 to 32,000, and right now we are at 27,000. So that's a good news to start with. But I'm still waiting for Dr. Gunukula, the cardiologist, because I had an article recently about the coronavirus in the heart, where the coronavirus itself is causing some heart disease also. So that's one aspect. And the second point I want to stress is, as a physicians, we are actually having this compassion fatigue in the sense we are taking care of these patients who are at home, who are at the hospital, and we have to be compassionate to them. And it gets to a point where you're caring for more patients, and then you get into a place where you need some help, right? So that I want to discuss that also, if there's a psychiatrist or who can take the question for that, how to deal with the compassion fatigue. For example, just today I heard like 2 of my patients died, not because of coronavirus, still they had like cancer and heart disease and all that stuff. But I don't hear that much. I mean, if you take an average of patient deaths in my panel, it is very, very less, not even at one in a month or something. But I heard like 2 deaths, and I was questioning myself whether it was undiagnosed coronavirus or not. So those are the 2 things. One about the heart disease and the coronavirus. We'll talk to Dr. Gunukula, and then about how the physicians are dealing with the patients they are seeing, and with the compassion fit. So I'll ask Dr. Raghu to chip in.
Yeah, welcome to all in the panel. Mr. PV, my classmate, he's a pediatrician in Proddatur, and Mr. Dr. Narwas from Sri Lankan. I want to bring in his Sri Lankan point of view. First of all, I will start in a positive note of the whole census you have seen all across the globe, and you're getting scarified figures. But the good point about this is 96% of those cases are milder cases. Very mild cases. This is what the WHO says, 96% are mild cases and 4% only rates at the critical level. So that says that this disease is a mild disease. But why we are scared? It's spreading so fast. That's why we are scared. And I can answer Ismail's question, how you will cope up with this being a doctor. For you, you have to treat it as another case. I think you got it. You have to treat it as another case in the sense you have seen so much in your life as a doctor. So many pandemics you have seen. For a patient, corona is a new thing. But as a doctor, you shouldn't be looking at it as a different kind of different kind of a disease, which even enters into your brain and affects your brain mentally and fatigues you. That shouldn't be attitude. You should be looking at that disease as a simple flu case, which we don't have any clue how to treat, but we have a very positive sign that 96% of cases are milder cases. As a physician, you have to take care of yourself extra a bit, just keeping in view the contagiousness of the disease, and go ahead with that, and keep yourself in a good phase, because I'm dealing with for past 20 days almost with the COVID cases. I never felt that I'm dealing with any of those COVID cases, because I taught myself every day in the end of the day that it's a normal case for me. It was a normal case because I've seen very few critical cases, but those who are working in ICU may be saying differently, that it's very tough case and they're going RDS, they are having the ventilators, we are shortage of ventilators. Instead of talking about the negative news more, that impacts your brain and your capabilities to work as a physician, better to look at the disease as a positive side, that most of the recoveries are there, and we can do well if we can accommodate our mind into that disease as a normal disease process happening with a different kind of virus. That's all. If that view you approach, your mind will be very clear. As you said, Dr. Ismail, most of our physicians are dying of stress, not because of corona. They are dying of stress dealing with this corona patient. I know enormous pressure is there on the physicians, but as my approach, just take at the end of the day it as a normal, simple flu case, which we are not able to solve it at this point of time, but we can deal with them in a milder way. If you think to yourself like that and you carry forward, your mind will be clear from it. And now I want Dr. Navras to chip in with his views and talk about that. Any questions, we will take over over the time.
Good morning. In Sri Lanka, now the time is actually it's around 6:30. I would like to give a small brief about Sri Lankan situation. First of all, I would like to thank Mr. Bhaskar and the fellow doctors who invited for this panel, and especially Dr. Raghu. So Sri Lanka, as you all know, it's a developing country. Our neighbor country is India. We don't have much cases at the moment. Till last night, total number of cases 238 confirmed cases. Out of those active cases, 168. Our hospital setup, it's a bit different from country to country. It's different because any positive cases we have to treat in the hospital. And we have allocated hospital for this type of COVID cases. So in the country, all around the country, we have about 16 hospitals allocated for these suspected cases, and one major hospital, infectious disease hospital. For all those confirmed cases, will be transferred to infectious disease hospital. And as you all know, as it's a developing country, we don't have much facilities in ICU beds. But at the moment, the cases are not that increase in level because country is under lockdown situation now for the last 3 weeks, and we had 7 deaths out of those 238 cases. We had only 7 deaths for ICU cases. All of them died because they all had comorbidities, those ICU patients. And fatality rate is around 2.94. Recovery rate is around 27%. The government is trying the best to control the disease. At the moment, I would say it is community level spread still not started in our country. At the moment, fairly the control is okay. The people are contributing well, and even though the country has a lot of economic and other issues, comparatively, the control is good at the moment. The health sectors and all the other sectors, they are doing their best to control the situation and educating the people as well. So we hope the government will take more action, and still we are before the community spread level. So that is the situation at the moment. Thank you.
So Dr. Navras, sir, when was the first case in Sri Lanka?
Actually, first case reported among the Sri Lankans in March, 11th of March. It was almost 1 month and 4 days before. And lockdown started on 20th of March. It's almost now.
Within the second week, you called for a lockdown.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
That's very impressive, though, the way it's been controlled. It's been more than a month now. We're able to control that really well.
Yeah, the experts say the treating doctors, the infectious disease hospital, the doctors, they say the reasons, the virulency of this virus in country like Sri Lanka is less compared to the America, UK, and other European countries. That may be one reason they are suggesting. And the climate also, according to them, there is a role for this less number of cases.
Yes, about climate, I think last session, Dr. Srivastava already emphasized the fact that the warmer conditions and warmer temperatures in the other part of the world are helping for them to have a milder form of the cough. I just want to talk about this lockouts. Actually, a lot of talk is going around why no lockout here, why no lockout there. And some countries are telling herd immunity. And actually, there are two schools which explain this kind of lockout. Actually, one is one says that if you allow the infection to spread across the society with the control measures, it will develop its own herd immunity. Herd immunity means as a community, they will form the antibodies against this virus. That is what the herd immunity is. That is the school of US and UK people. But old epidemiologists very clearly say that if you have a slow spread, like what's happening in the Southeast Asia, in India or Sri Lanka or anywhere in the Southeast Asia, they locked down the countries and allowed a slow spread of the disease. The slow spread of the disease will surely give a herd immunity in the community, which will give a lesser cases and less serious cases. This is what they say. So that's why effective lockdown may help than not having a lockdown. That's my opinion. Over to PV. PV, you can talk, ma. You can have your views about that at the ground level. What's happening in Andhra Pradesh? Because a lot of stress to the many of the Telugu audience watching here.
Yeah. First of all, I thank to Raghu and brother Bhaskar. Hi, sir. Hi to all.
Hello.
For giving me opportunity to take part in this excellent program. Of course, Ismail. Hi. Hi, everybody.
Hello.
Basically, I'm a pediatrician, private sector, Proddatur, AP. Place belong to Raghu also. Exactly as what Raghu said, in India, early lockdown allowed us to spread the disease slowly. At the same time, the death rate also in severe case also less here as compared to other part of the globe. So what exactly Raghu just now mentioned. And right now, the cases are picking up for the past 3 or 4 days compared to earlier days. As far as a pediatrician, what I can able to express regarding this is regarding pediatric age group, the cases are less and less in severity also. We can able to see the cases, many cases, asymptomatic manner. Yes, they are only carriers, when it seems.
Mm-hmm.
Raghu,
So
over to you.
Are there any cases in Proddatur right now?
No. Yeah, the cases are there. 13 cases are there, but all belong to adult age group only. No pediatric cases
Adult
here.
age group.
13 cases are here. 13 cases are here. All are asymptomatic. It seems they are in quarantine, isolation. They are in isolation. They are less severity. They are taking only oral medication, it seems.
Okay.
Raghu?
Okay, I can see Dr. Venu is on the panel. Is he able to talk to us? Dr. Venu? He's not on the panel. Okay. Any questions coming up, Vijay?
Let me see if there are questions. So the viewers that are watching on YouTube, you can pose your questions. So one question I have for the pediatrician, sir, if when you have people come to like normal visits, right? For example, if I want to have my child for a regular visit, like a newborn baby, I need to bring them to the doctor. How do you take the normal situation And how do you ensure they don't have the coronavirus, or how do you ensure people coming for a normal visit? Right, nowadays everything has to be scrutinized differently. So how are you tackling that situation?
It has been a big issue in AP, not only AP, all over India. Yeah, whether we can able to see the normal OP procedures, normal OP patients, and how can we discriminate these COVID positive patients like that. As far as newborns are concerned, if mother is positive, baby born to a positive COVID mother, then the issue comes.
Okay.
If is that the case scenario, what we are doing is that we isolate the baby from the mother. Not we are doing, just we didn't come across those type of cases. What the guidelines we are having?
Okay.
Isolate the baby from the mother for 2 days, 48 hours. Test the baby. Because the child gets positive, isolate from the mother.
Okay.
For 7 days.
Okay.
Meanwhile, you can feed the baby. Yeah, come on, Raghu. Please carry.
Yeah, you tell. No problem.
Meanwhile, just you feed the baby EBM, expressed breast milk, or top fed the baby. That's what we are having the guidelines here. After 1 week, if again child gets positive, start the baby and medication. Otherwise, if you get twice the test negative, you can discharge the baby along with mother. That's what newborns are concerned. If mother is not known positive case, we are giving routine medication, routine immunization also.
Okay.
Pediatric age group patients, when we get them, there's a normal. Actually, right now, what's our protocol is? You treat each and every case as suspected case in the pandemic.
Okay. Very good.
So if no proper history suggesting towards it, we are seeing the normal. That's all. Raghu.
Okay.
Yeah, actually, answering to the question straight away, in these scenarios, the doctors who are seeing the OPDs, it's very difficult for them to identify who is COVID positive and who is COVID negative like that. So in general, what we do is our all the general precautions, what we know very well already with the COVID, wearing the mask, giving the hand sanitizers, maintaining them with the distance, all this. And adding on to PV's points, there is no proven vertical transmission at this point of time. Vertical transmission in the sense, mother having COVID, it's passing on to the baby. It's not yet proven. Only 9 cases they studied across the globe till time, according to the RCOG, Royal College of Gynecology Obstetricians. They say that vertical transmission happened only in 1 case. But they studied only 9 cases. Only they studied 9 cases. They don't have proper data also to say that it transmits vertically. Vertical transmission in the sense in utero, through the placenta, that is disease going on to the baby. It's not happening at this point of time. That's what the RCOG says, but they're still evaluating the scenarios and they may change every day. Every day they keep changing that statement, but this particular statement not changed for past, from the day 1 of the epidemic to this level of pandemic, the statement not changed. So there is no vertical transmission, but still, as he said, if mother wants to breastfeed the baby with the mother being positive, they are doing the EBMs and they are having the breast milk banks, and also they are having the mother need to take her own care, covering the mouth and all this. Then the hand washing before touching the baby, after touching the baby. This is all they are doing. Ismail, your experience about this newborns and
in general, right, not necessarily newborns. If you have a regular visit, right, for example, if a pregnant lady, they want to go for regular visits, and any situation like if you are visiting a dentist, for example, you have a root canal to be visited. So you are actually taking a service that is very normal, visiting a dentist or visiting a pregnant lady, visiting a gynecologist. How would they approach this situation now? Because the doctors have to treat the situation differently. I would like Dr. Ismail to address the question.
Yeah. So can you repeat the question, Bhaskar?
The question is, if anybody like people that are normal, going through normal life operations, right? For example, there's a pregnant lady going to a gynecologist, or a person visiting a dentist for any teeth problems, right? These are all normal visits, nothing to do with this corona situation. But now,
Right.
anybody receiving those patients for even regular things, they still have to go through certain precautions. So how are the doctors like dentists and everybody else is approaching? I know we don't have a dentist on the panel yet. Maybe we can bring them on later on. But right now, we can address it in general, how they are actually dealing with that.
Yeah. So what's happening right now is all these elective procedures. That means all the dentist offices are closed at this point of time, actually. Only for emergencies. So if they have a root canal and very severe, so I have a couple of patients which kind of I sent to the emergency. Didn't have any regular dental appointments, but sometimes we can treat them with diuretics and the pain medications for time-wise, and especially for so whatever we can stop all the elective surgeries, but we can't stop the deliveries, right? So my sister is a gynecologist in Anantapur, and as you know, right now the actually Anantapur General Hospital is a very big hotspot. There was one patient who was COVID positive, and then a lot of doctors got right now, but still she's going and attending the deliveries. Actually, she was on night duty yesterday. But what they're doing is they're having total PPE, personal protection equipment, which is goggles and N95 mask and the whole thing, whole covering up and taking care of the patients. I don't know. I mean, they don't know they're not testing the patients regular for the COVID or anything, but they're at least checking them like they don't have symptoms or they don't have, for example, cough or fever before they get into the delivery room. And interestingly, my wife works in the Department of Justice. It's a women prison system, and there was a patient who was pregnant, who was positive brought by from other place. That's the only case they have, but they put them in quarantine, and they're attending to that patient. So yeah, we see. So there is a case of a pregnant woman having a COVID patient. I mean COVID positive here in our Fort Worth also, but we have to take care of them with full precautions and quarantine them.
Got it. So there was a question from the audience. There was people who are in quarantine with asymptomatic manifestation. What is the regimen for them? How is it different for normal lockdown people? So there is a quarantine with asymptomatic manifestation, people in that particular setup versus people that are like normal lockdown. Is there a difference in regimen for either of them?
I mean, are we talking about the medicines?
Yeah, in the medicines or anything, any care they need to take, I believe. Is there a specific people with asymptomatic symptoms, right? If they are in quarantine, do they have to do anything differently from like normal people that are in lockdown?
Yeah, very important thing, because just now people even in India, like the doctors, our friends and the first line responders are taking hydroxychloroquine once a week, 400 milligram dosage, but it's not recommended for people who are asymptomatic and who are staying at home. So just we are treating them with plain Tylenol for fever and any symptomatic treatment for cough who have symptoms. But asymptomatic patients, for example, just like Dr. PV sir said, who are in quarantine in India, in Proddatur, like 13 patients who are positive for COVID, but they don't have symptoms. They just keep him in one place and they're observing them. That's it. So that if they develop symptoms, they will treat them and they kind of monitor them closely. But very interestingly, just had a study. It's also reported in New York Times. There was in Brazil, they did a randomized, actually it was a randomized control trial. That means there are two a group of patients who took high dose chloroquine and low dose chloroquine, and there was a lot of serious side effects, prolongation of QTC, that means heart problems, who took high dose chloroquine. So at this point of time, it's still not recommended. There is no treatment which is recommended even from ID guidelines. I hope Dr. Srivastava will come on and educate us on that.
He's in a meeting right now. He's going to join us in a few minutes.
Oh, great. So we can ask that question to him. But at this point of time, if they're asymptomatic, we don't do anything. Just they stay home, one place, do whatever they want to do, watch TV or whatever. And then we closely observe them. Like we talk to them like this on the phone and ask them like if they're developing any symptoms, any cough, any other problems. Otherwise, just observe.
But how do you know somebody is asymptomatic though?
Asymptomatic means they don't have symptoms, like they don't have cough, they don't have fever, they don't have any shortness of breath, anything like that. They just tested positive because they were in contact with other person. For example, all of the doctors in Anantapur, we tested positive, including a resident and his father and all that. They didn't have any symptoms. Just because they were in contact with a COVID positive patient, they tested them and they tested positive. But they didn't have any symptoms. So, but still they're in quarantine because they might infect other people.
And they may develop symptoms.
They may develop symptoms. That is a very important thing regarding pediatric patients too, because they don't have symptoms, and then they can go and infect like older people, and then they can develop serious disease.
Correct. Okay.
So adding on to that, actually there is a clear difference between lockdown and isolation. A lockdown, you are doing it not to infect the normal person, and isolation, you are doing it for a person who got infected, not to spread the infection. So whether even in non-asymptomatic a patient, COVID positive patient, will be isolated. Asymptomatic non-COVID patient will be locked down. He will be sitting at home not to get the disease. Another one will be sitting at home not to spread the disease. This is the basic idea of isolation and lockdown. Lockdown is not equivalent to isolation. The viewers must understand this. And isolated patients will be checked for this COVID on the day of admission, which is positive, and he is isolated on the day 8th and also on day 14th and day 28th until they become negative. They won't be released to the community back again. But for a lockdown patient, he has to be safe, not to come in contact, as Ismail said, not to come in contact with any COVID cases so that he will not get it. And as long as he is not in contact with any of the person COVID positives, he is safe. Not that every flu who is sitting at home will get it's a COVID. No. If you are in contact, there is something called epidemiological criteria for this disease. If you are in close contact or travel to the area where COVID is positive, you are vulnerable for the disease. If you are sitting at home and taking all the precautions, you are not vulnerable. You are only in the lockdown. You are not isolated. So make it very clear, isolation is different from lockdown.
Okay.
Anything, Narwas, you need to add? Yeah.
I wanted to ask Dr. Narwas about from the Sri Lankan context. So how is your government dealing with you are an island, right? So you have a lot of ships coming through your ports and things flying into Sri Lanka as well as a hub of the place. How is the government dealing with international travel and also getting help from other countries? Do you know? Are you able to comment on that?
Yeah, actually, at the moment, all the inbound flights and outbound flights are also cancelled, except for the emergency reasons. Like that, even the shipments also not functioning as usual. And as Dr. Raghu was giving the answer, in Sri Lankan setup, the government policy is at the moment, if we find any positive cases, all these positive cases has to be admitted to the infectious disease hospital, even they are asymptomatic. And regarding the chloroquine, only the positive cases they are giving chloroquine as a treatment. That is also the experts, they are in the opinion still they don't have a strong evidence, but only the confirmed cases they are treating with chloroquine. Prophylactically, we are not giving any patients the chloroquine according to the our country's health system policy. And even asymptomatic patients, according to the epidemiological guidelines and policies, the patient has to be admitted to the hospital. At the moment, we are not doing the home quarantine system for the positive cases.
Okay.
Yeah.
Makes sense. So I have a question for the panel from the audience. The question is, it's about the situation in New York. It's pretty bad in US. New York City got severely impacted, we know that. And the reason why everybody is saying that is New York is a travel hub, and because it's a very fairly dense city, so it is impacted. But in USA, however, we have other major cities like Chicago, Los Angeles, San Jose, Atlanta, which are also as equivalent to New York when compared to in terms of travel, being a travel hub / being dense cities and all that. So the question from the audience is that from a virus spread point of view, why New York got mostly impacted compared to other major cities in US compared to New York? So maybe Dr. Ismail, you want to take that?
Yeah. So what's happened in New York is before, I think the California, the first case was reported in Seattle in Washington. After that, I think the California acted quickly to go on a lockdown mode, but New York took a little more time. But even before that, as our president said, we kind of stopped all the flights from China in somewhere in January, February, in between that. But there were like 400,000 travelers from China who came into the United States. Most of them, especially into New York, and also most of them cases from New York are not only from China. They're from Europe actually. So the virus came to Europe, and from Europe, a lot of people came to New York. So even though all the other cities are big hubs, I think New York as an international destination, more and more people have came to those places, and also because they did the lockdown little late, they acted little late, so that's why the spread was more. And especially if you compare even Louisiana and New Orleans also, the spread was impacted more. And then if you take a racial issue in this, the more people who got impacted are African Americans for whatever reason, because the virus is impacting more people who are in that age group. I mean, in the African American group, racial group, there are more cases, and also people who are obese are kind of affecting. So maybe the profile in these places in New Orleans and New York, mostly in Bronx and all the areas where they have more disease, were because there are more African American population. So that might be one issue, and also because this was an international hub and they did the lockdown a little later, so it was spread a lot. But of the late, I think we are seeing a little more decrease in reported cases. But the deaths, as I said, they increased. They added 3,000 more deaths because those deaths the people who die in nursing homes and like long-term care facilities were not reported initially because they thought it was natural deaths. But as I said, that was more when compared to normal times. The death rate was even more in nursing homes or long-term care facilities. So they thought that might be due to COVID, and they kind of added those people deaths today, which increased the death rate. But the case rate is I think again it's going down a little bit.
I will like to compare it with the scenario happening in Bharat, India. Actually, what's happening is there are some clusters coming out there in Delhi and Mumbai. Why it is happening there and why not across India? The same scenario comes across in New York and other parts of the US also. What it ways, there are these clusters are coming. Whoever came in as a cluster into that particular area turned out to be positive, and they are spreading it positive very fast. So the other areas which are, though they are travel hubs, maybe the positive cases, as Ismail was telling, the cases which reached that area are not positive, are asymptomatic and not spreading fast. That's why that disease is not going across the globe like that, only in the clusters happening in. And in New York also, very late lockdown happened, as per my knowledge. That is the main reason I say that New York getting affected. Even Italy was the same case. They said we don't lock down, and when they are in the disparate situation, they advise even UK to lock down early, but UK also denied for it, and they got into the breakdown very fast. So this is the basic thing is lockdown is the mantra, and that is what Southeast Asian people did very effectively. I will bring out my Brunei experience. They had a first case after 3 months of a pandemic started, but that spread very fast, and they reached up to 220 cases over 2 weeks of time. But they locked down, they closed their borders, and in 2 months of time now, from their first case, there are now 0 cases. There are no zero. There is no reported case for past 1 week in this area. So, meaning to say, lockdown effectively controls the disease. That is what I mean to say. Brunei happened at Singapore, it happened in Korea, it happened. These models are working well. So in India also, we are able to control relatively well because of accepting for that clusters which happened in Delhi and Mumbai. Uh, Everybody knows about that. No news clusters, what's happening. I don't want to bring it up now.
Yep. We have another
yeah.
question, Raghu. We have another question. This question is about, can a diabetic or heart patients who are on medication be treated with hydroxychloroquine, if they are tested positive? That means if they have pre-existing conditions, and what impact or the effect those medicines have on them. So the question is, can diabetic or heart condition patients, if they're tested positive, can they take hydroxychloroquine?
Cardiac patients, no, for sure, no. Cardiac patients, they are scared to give hydroxychloroquine still time, as per my knowledge, and they will not do that, I'm sure. And diabetics and all, at this point of time, any admitted patients are treated only on the what is their experience base of that particular admitting unit. They are using antivirals, they are using hydroxychloroquine, they are using everything unless the patient is very serious. If not serious, and even he is with the heart and diabetic conditions, they are still giving the supportive therapy only. Ismail,
Okay.
you can add on to that. Supportive therapy only. Hydrochloroquine is not for cardiac patients, please.
Yes, sir. Whatever you said is right. So this is not a recommended treatment right now, but still people are using it on a clinical basis at the point of care. And again, as a recent article which came out from Brazil said, there is a lot of serious side effects with chloroquine. They didn't test hydroxychloroquine. They did test chloroquine in high doses, but and it was a randomized controlled trial. So it was of 81 patients, and they have a lot of side effects, which heart arrhythmias, which is rhythm problems with that. So at this point of time, I think it should be judged by the doctors who are treating them. I wouldn't advise anybody to take hydroxychloroquine, even if it is available wherever, for example, in India, without an doctor's advice, and definitely not for asymptomatic patients.
Okay.
Navras, will you like to add on to that thought of hydroxychloroquine? What's your experience and how can we use that? And
Yes, Dr. Raghu, I agree with you. The same practice as you are describing. only the confirmed cases they are giving in Sri Lankan setup. Outside the hospital, they are not giving. They are not giving as prophylaxis also. As Dr. Ismail correctly said, still trials are not. There is no strong evidence, and due to the side effects, we have to be very careful. In our country, also, it is strictly advised not to take without doctor's advice by the general public for any reason chloroquine. And only the confirmed cases they are prescribing at the moment.
Okay, very good.
Prabhakar Naidu is there on the line, or he
And
is
I
hearing
see
us?
him. I see him, but he's not on the microphone. So
We can't ask him any question. Yeah, okay. But I heard that in ICMR give the guidelines in India for the physicians who are in the direct exposure to the cases to get a prophylactic dose of hydroxychloroquine. Even that is misused by our physicians own. I'm telling you, 2 cases got expired. Very young physicians with hydroxychloroquine being their choice for the prophylaxis. So they died with a myocarditis. So my advice to the public is better not to take hydroxychloroquine even it is available to you. Please, only physician can decide for you whether you need it or not. Don't go for it.
I have a general question. Sorry to cut you there. Last time this came upon, but I think we can address it again. So right now, it's only the spread of the virus is only through contact, right? It's not through the air, right? The infection doesn't spread through. It's not aerial, isn't it? It's only when it's on a surface, isn't it?
Right now they say it is a surface, but in the one school says that in the Europe and America it's happening aerosol spread also. So for US people, it's better to have a mask when you go outside. That's what face cover to go outside. They are telling that there are 2 kind of strains happening in the world now. Not yet proven, but I don't take it as 100%. It's E strain and S strain. S strain is in the Southeast Asia. E strain is happening in America and UK, which is actually they are believing that could be an airborne disease. And there is a very recent study saying that virus is getting shed in the fecal matter also.
Okay.
Fecal matter also. So if there is fecal matter spread also, if a positive case, asymptomatic positive case uses a public bathroom and he flushes it without closing the commode, there is a possibility that the virus comes back into that washroom as an aerosol. This is a speculation happening, and they're telling that it is happening because there are recurrent of cases who came negative, became positive again. So they are thinking that there is a fecal shedding of the virus also. Some schools, not yet proven, but it may happen. So you have to be extra careful in Europe and America, covering you properly when you go out.
Okay.
Navras, you can add on to that, fecal shed. Have you heard of it?
Yes, Dr. Raghu, what you said is correct. As you told, there is a possibility of getting the infection through this route as well.
Okay, great. We have Dr. Ramvinay Srivastava garu joining us. Sir, welcome. I know you've been very busy all day, and it's you're probably most sought after everywhere as well.
Yeah,
so again, being in the infectious disease field, your expertise, your wisdom is probably most needed right now in the world, and that's why we were looking for you on the panel as well. So give us, since we met last time, sir, give us how the world has been progressing, especially in US, where people are really concerned about the increase in cases. Are you seeing any flattening of the curve? What's your view?
I think we have seen some flattening of the curve because in my city, my town, we are very happy with the way we're dealing with the situation.
It's Phoenix, right? Phoenix, yeah.
Phoenix, yeah. So we, the medics committee, we're meeting every day But as of yesterday, we made the meetings every other day because there is no need, not too many cases. Things are very well under control.
Good.
Very well under control. So they're happy. But the problem is it's hurting the economy because we don't see any other cases other than COVID cases now in the hospital. Even the COVID cases too, there are very few. So, but I think social distancing and no medications, mainly social distancing is working out really well. So I think that's what.
How about what is your observation in other parts of the country, sir? You must be following the news.
New York is totally out of control. What happens is it's simple math, right? If you have like 1 in 10 infected, it's easy to keep the infection to that one person, right? Let's say if 1 in 5, like 5 out of 10 are infected, it's very easy to give to the 10 too, other 5 too, right? So in New York, it's already out of control. So if you go into a shop, there's highly likely that you're going to get infection if you go to New York, right? But if you go to Arizona, where I live, if you go to shopping, the prevalence is so low that you're not going to get it that easy. Okay, but California did a pretty good job in controlling situation with social distancing. But New York is much more crowded. But everything is working. Everything is working. Whatever it's doing, we're working. But we have not seen like a super spikes. We're still seeing a lot of deaths because it's a huge country, a lot of older population. They're going to die. But very few cases of young people dying. But we haven't seen any. In my hospital, not even one young patient. There's one doctor who is like, I think, 50 years old. He has COPD, he's a smoker and the diabetes. He was in ECMO. He was in ECMO for almost like 10, 15 days. It's a big deal. I don't know what happened to him because he was moved to even higher level facility where they can do ECMO, where there's artificial lung, respirations going on in there. But otherwise, people are doing pretty good. But there's no treatment which is working. We haven't tried anything. Nobody knows if chloroquine is really working or not. I spoke to multiple doctors in my facility, but they couldn't tell me if chloroquine is really doing anything or not doing anything. It's some people are using because that makes them comfortable. They're using it.
It's a placebo effect, right?
We don't know yet. Maybe it's helping, maybe not helping. We can't call it as placebo effect because placebo means that you came to a conclusion already that it's not really doing anything.
Okay, got it.
Right,
sir. Welcome, sir. We are waiting for you. Actually, before you came, there were 2 questions from the public. One is why New York had a lot of cases, why the New York City had a lot of impact when compared to Chicago, Los Angeles, or San Jose or something like that, which are bigger in population metropolis. That's number
maybe
1.
There are a lot of travel from China, Wuhan, directly to New York more than any other city because New York is the business center, right? It's like Bombay of India. Do you agree? People call it as a Bombay of India, right? A lot of business center. So let's say in India, I expect a lot of cases in Bombay more than any other cities, right? Because a lot of
that's what's happening. Yeah, actually, Maharashtra has a lot of cases.
Okay, so
especially in Bombay.
Connect the dots, from Wuhan, where they went, that's what happened. But the contact is the one we have to really keep in mind because I see everybody wearing a mask and everything, but more than the mask is the contact. We got to wash our hands. So it's just contact is very difficult. Let's say if you go into the patient's room and if he coughs on you and coughs on the bed sheet, you touch the bed sheet or something, and then come out, you touch your face or nose, you're going to get it. So the contact.
Actually, that was my next question because I wanted Dr. Prabhakar, I think he's on the panel. I don't know if he hears me or not, but there are a lot of cases in Anantapur hospital where there was one patient and there are a lot of doctors affected. So I think contact played a big role in there, more than the aerosol or spread or something. So the question is like, when you compare to droplet spread and aerosol spread, apart from the contact, so is there any studies where this is airborne or just it's droplet only at this point of time?
The article from Nature, I think a couple of weeks, 1 week ago, I think, they could not come to any conclusion. though the CDC is saying that it's probably a droplet, the Nature article, they spoke to multiple scientists. They said they can't really tell because scientists are not totally convinced that it's just droplet, but it's too early. But I think you have to be careful. My opinion is that you really don't need an N95. If you have it, that's good. But you should have more than regular surgical mask. Maybe N95. Eyeglass is very important because it can draw, get into your conjunctiva, and also contact. When you touch, don't try to listen to the patient every day if you don't have to. That's okay. Actually, in Arizona, the governor signed something on last Friday saying that there are not going to be any lawsuits on patients with COVID. If you're taking care of a patient with COVID, there cannot be any lawsuits, anything like that.
So the doctors are protected legally, right?
Yeah, yes, in Arizona. I think in New York too, because they have to, because of we can't spend much time in the patient's room, 1 minute out, and hospitals are okay with it. In our ICU, I think it's good for India people to know too. Let's say Dr. Chandrasekhar is on board too, right? So let's say there are 5 doctors on the case. Not all 5 doctors need to go into the patient's room. 1 doctor can go in there, and then the rest of the 5 doctors can talk to them and help, give their expertise. But we don't have to really go examine the patient, so that we can save the PPE and we can limit the exposure. Only 1 per day. That's what that was allowed in Arizona in my hospital. Only 1 doctor per day.
The basic thing of what Sri is talking is there is a theory, very rude way of telling it. This disease, if a dengue fever, mosquito is the vector, we will kill the mosquito. But here, human being is the vector. He is carrying from place to place, he is carrying, so we cannot kill a human being, just separate him. That is where they say. This is why the viral exposure should be as minimal as possible. We are following the same procedure what Sri is telling. If we are 4 on duty, 1 only going to see the patient. No 3, all 3 others will listen to me what I have seen in that patient.
In New York and California, we have very high cases, too many cases, right? Very high prevalence. In Arizona, very low prevalence in my state, luckily. But in Texas is the one which is right in the middle. What is going on in there?
Yeah. So how much of the weather is making an impact in Arizona? I know it's a warmer place relative to other places. How is the temperature helping?
I don't know. Maybe, right? But in India, is temperature helping or no, is the question.
Yeah. I don't think so, right?
I think this part of the world, it is helping. It's helping, I think.
It is helping.
Because it's not a virulent strain, and it's not killing the people so much. So many, most of them are affected, but not getting seriously affected because of this effect, I think. And even I read an article yesterday saying that being a malaria oriented malaria epidemic zone, Southeast Asia has got more resistance to this disease. That's what I read. I don't know whether infectious disease can highlight on that more. Being a prone people for malaria and got exposed to malaria so many times, and also to TB, they got a mild herd immunity towards this flu case already. That's what I read yesterday only. I don't know, Sri, what you thought about it? And also Narwas.
Sure about that. In general, people in tropical areas they get more infections very commonly, right? For example, malaria is very common. If a person living in India gets malaria, it's not a big deal. They get it, they get over with it very easily. But an American who is born here, went to India, gets malaria, he could very well die, because of their exposure. Disease exposure is very low, but in tropical disease areas, they get a lot of infections. And I think a lot of bacteria, viruses, they get exposed very constantly. They have a more innate immunity, I think, more than any other places. People living in tropical areas, I think they have more innate immunity. That's what I believe in, compared to
Dr. Raghu made a very interesting observation, like the humans are acting as vectors here, because there was I read an article where they were talking about this SARS-CoV-2 is different from the previous SARS. if it was very infectious, not very infectious, it was very lethal. If the patients who were infected in Wuhan died like quickly, it wouldn't have spread to other places. So this is not that lethal in that sense. So it is. So that was an interesting point. And
is a very high mortality. It's 35 to 40%.
SARS, yeah.
Yeah,
SARS, yes.
Yeah. This is only 3%.
3%.
3% overall. Yeah.
In my opening notes itself, I told 96% of the present active cases are mild cases. So that's a very good positive point for us actually towards this disease. Yeah. And Narwas, your thoughts about malaria being protective? You have any articles, input, or read about that, Narwas?
Yes, Dr. Raghu, as you told, the pattern is observed like that. Those malaria endemic areas in countries, we are seeing less cases and less virulent cases. Actually, I don't have exact evidence with the research evidence, but it is the pattern observed as far as I also, according to my knowledge.
Sri, about this, I heard two strains happening now, strain E and strain S. Have you heard of it, and have you throw some light? Can you throw some light on that?
Yeah, I heard about those two strains, but they're not. We're not really testing for those two strains. I'm not sure. I don't think they have any clinical or outcome.
Yeah, of course.
When it comes to practice, it doesn't make any difference. Yeah. But you said a point that the 96% of the patients will get a mild disease. Okay. But the point we have to learn is if it is 4%, but the infectivity rate is very high.
That's
right. So 1% of people, let's say like 3% die, but it's affecting so many millions and crores of people, right? Let's say if 3% of Indians die, 3 crores, right? Yeah, that's a lot of people dying. You know what I mean? But I don't think everybody is going to get infected. Let's say 1 crore people get infected, like 1% get infected, right? And then 3% of them die. That's like 3 lakh people dying. That's a lot of deaths, right?
Yeah,
that's a pretty basic thing, you know. But my thing is that, you know, this country, we have a lot of space and area, you know, but a lot of education, and people have a lot of money, so they can follow all the rules and regulations. In spite of that, we have seen a lot of deaths and sickness, right? But in India, though they're following all these rules, it's kind of hard to follow the rules in India, you know, because I've seen some videos where people not really following social distancing, right? So they're following just like in here, but it's not spreading as, you know, as like in this country. So I'm thinking definitely the weather, warm weather is definitely helping control the virus.
So there is another question from the audience. They're saying there were some articles who had BCG that says people that had BCG are slightly immune to corona. Is that right?
I don't know about that. I read all those articles, but nothing is really, you know.
Nothing is real. Okay.
So it's another as good as thinking that we don't know what is from where the corona is coming. We don't know also the origin of the corona. Similarly, we don't know protective nature of BCG. No, I don't think so. We can assure it that it is yes. No, we can't say that.
So we spoke close more than an hour already. So again, I wanted to ask one current affair question relevant to US, which is you know, about opening the economy. So I know President Trump is projecting 2 schools of thought. Obviously, one is it is imperative to find a place where we can open the economy. What's the appropriate time to do it? And he's going to take the advice of the community, but still is going to do the thing that's necessary to get the economy back on trail again, because he says staying at home, people are getting addicted to drugs. Suicide lines are buzzing. Don't know how much data is behind all that, but I think there is that side of it where if you are locked down too long and economy is down, 16, 17 million jobs lost. And, you know, in that situation, there is a side that, yes, you should look to open the economy. And on the other side, all the infectious disease experts, Dr. Fauci and everyone else are saying, we're not there yet, and we need to be a lot more careful when we approach that. So what is your take on that? I would like to ask each of you. Maybe Dr. Ram, you want to start first?
So we're dealing with something we never dealt with.
Yeah.
Right? So we don't have any experience to comment on what's going to happen. So if you had an experience before, we can make some conclusions. So everybody make a guess game, right? So the question is, what had happened in the last 3 months? Have you failed? Did you do a good job? Did you do a bad job? It's your opinion. If you think we did a good job in the last 3 months, I think we can go ahead and take a chance. But if you think we didn't do a good job in the last 3 months, I think we should be more cautious. So because this is something we haven't dealt with before, it's just
it's better to be safe, right?
I want to bring up a Europe model. Actually, they were strongly believing that it is economy going to affect, and all these points were there, which Vijay Bhaskar made out. All these points were there. That's why they didn't take off early lockdown. So what happened? They lost the people, and they lost the economy also by lockdown now. They are finally going to the lockdown. Early lockdown is very helpful, and looking at the what is it called economy point of view towards this disease makes no sense for me, because it is human life versus economy. So human life is more valuable. And I told one of my colleagues also, if Indian lockdown helps even 10 lives to be saved, it's worth lockdown. So that's what I feel, but US is looking at a different angle, I think, unfortunately. Ismail, your thought on that?
Yes, sir. So what I think is, so basically what we are doing is we are kind of flattening the curve, right? Flattening the curve doesn't mean the disease doesn't go away. The virus doesn't go away. The virus is going to stay. So basically the flattening the curve means the number of cases which are going fast, we are going to make them a little slower and then spread them out, actually. So what that means is eventually, if 1 million people are going to get affected, the whole 1 million will be definitely going to get affected. But it's going to take, the lockdown concept is going to make it like, is it going to happen in 1 month versus 6 months or 1 year? So that's what we are looking at. So if proper lockdown measures like what they're doing in India, if it is done correctly, I think it will definitely bring down that fast spread and make the spread a little slower. That's what we are doing right now. We don't have any treatment because, all the doctors, even the young doctors are dying with the serious disease. But on the other side, there's 96% of patients who are getting better. Like, for example, my 3 patients are now tested negative, which is very good. I'm very happy about it. So and then the symptoms, even though like fever and cough, they're getting little, for few people, they say 14 days, it's going to stay for 28 days. But once they tested negative, if they stay home for another 1 week, and they're going to stop the spread. So my take on this is we need to extend the lockdown for a few more days, few more weeks. Now, because right now we are seeing the curve going to the first time here, if you take the 5-day average. So I think it's going to help to extend for a few days and then monitor and then maybe take the lockdown off, because eventually the disease is going to stay and is going to spread. But the lockdown is making it to spread it slowly until and unless we find a vaccine which can completely eradicate the disease.
Correct. So
by lockdown, we can even borrow the time till the vaccine. Actually,
exactly.
Correct.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So there is a funny question. I think both of you are experts in handling that also. So the question is, how to let me go back to that question. Where is it? Okay. How to pick good movies across Netflix, Amazon Prime during this time. The lists are too long and exhausting.
Whatever you like is good. Whatever you like is good. Very simple.
So no. That's why we are doing this Facebook challenge. Challenge where we are tagging people.
Post a picture, right? Yes. And then continue to join these B+ sessions, because after other days than this doctor's panel, we're doing all fun stuff. So daily 8 to 9, you join here. Maybe you'll get an idea how to deal with that Netflix and Amazon Prime problem.
And one more thing is, don't follow the corona, leave it outside. Don't follow the news much. If you look into much news, everywhere it is corona, your mind will be full of corona. Just have other things other than this. Live like a normal human being.
Watch fun. Karina instead.
Yeah.
Corona,
good one.
Karina.
Good one, Ismail. And Sri also very expert in that, actually. He watches that. Yeah.
So I do want to add, I think we can conclude the discussion for today. I want to thank you, Dr. Ismail, Dr. Raghunandan. I know it's too early for you in the day, but you came in. Dr. Narwas, I think they had to go. And Dr. Ram has to go as well, so they couldn't stay till the end. But I will send them thank you notes later on. But again, this is very useful to have doctors come along to talk about the things that we are all concerned about. There is definitely a lot of good news. There are a lot of jobs being lost, but I also see Amazon, Instacart, Home Depot, Lowe's, Best Buy, who is that? CVS. They're all adding 50,000 jobs, 100,000 jobs each, because they need. Walmart is adding jobs. So there are certain businesses that need additional hands. So a lot of jobs are getting created in this area, meaning they're different jobs. They may not be the same job that you lost, but there are jobs getting created, across these companies. If you just look now hiring website, it has a complete list of all the companies that are desperately looking for people for work. So it may not be the same job that you had lost, but it would be some other job. I'm sure they would be very empathetic in hiring as well, to give people job skill training on the fly, so you can get adapted to the new job situation, even if you don't have prior skills. So there will be situations that will be addressed accordingly. So please take advantage of all of that. There are jobs shifting now, basically. The jobs that are getting lost now getting created in another industry because there is demand in other places. The online education tools are booming. Online, all the healthcare industry is getting bombarded with demand. So we should look for jobs there.
So much so that even US opened to the doctors.
Correct.
They're offering without even
opening.
licensing. Yeah, they're not even licensing is required for us to work now in any city like Michigan or anywhere.
Correct.
Michigan
so
State or something.
That's what is happening. There are a lot of jobs getting created as well. So I'm not saying 17 million jobs are getting created, but at least there are jobs from these, all the retailers, anybody in the food supply chain, or anybody in the retail industry, anybody in this internet ball game versus online meeting games, anybody in that area, even gaming industry. I heard people are hiring because there's a lot of demand for new games. People are at home wanting to play games. So check out different areas, get out of the comfort zone. This is time to discover maybe those areas that you always wanted to get into. You're now being forced to take action to get into that. So always think positive. There is always the other side of the fence that is greener. You want to approach those areas and then get yourself fit for those. And then listen to our heroes, listen to our doctors, always heed their advice. Stay home, stay safe. And let's, again, on behalf of all of your community, all of your heroes, Dr. Ismail, Dr. Raghunandan, let's clap for them. And thank you for what you do on the field. And hopefully all the viewers that are watching had your time worth spent in interacting with the doctors. Hopefully we'll bring another panel together. Hopefully we'll have a full panel this time, because a lot of the doctors that said they want to come on panel, they had emergency calls, they had different work schedules.
Exactly.
And they couldn't make it today, but we will continue to pursue this. We'll continue to get similar doctors' views because this situation is going to be dynamic and it's changing every day as we speak. All that we can do is, keep everything in our control, and make sure we do that really well. Thank you again for your time, and we'll meet again.
Dr. Narwas left for morning prayers, actually.
I know he's in Sri Lankan time, so this is great.
No, he's in Kuwait only, actually.
In Kuwait only, but he gives a Sri Lankan perspective. Okay.
Prayer time, morning time, actually. He left.
Right. So we'll definitely continue to be in touch with you guys, and then hopefully next time we'll bring in homeopathic doctors, Ayurvedic doctors, people from different disciplines like dentists and nurses. We'll try to bring in some nurses as well to see how they're dealing with the situation. so that we can have a complete perspective on this whole virus situation and how they're handling it, what kind of advice they have for us. Thanks again for everybody that's viewing, that has viewed this, and please do share this link to all other people so they can get benefited from the discussion we had today. Again, thank you, Dr. Raghunandan, Dr. Ismail, and you have a nice day. Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, bye.